Welcome to the Vault Podcast, classic music reviews, presented by IV Creative. Now, here's your hosts, B. Cox and the crew.
Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Vault Podcast, classic music reviews, presented by IV Creative. It's a perspective of the classics from a fresh point of view. We appreciate you for taking your time and lending your ears to our perspective. You could be anywhere listening to anything, but you're right here with us, so we thank you. With you today is yours truly, B. Cox, and with me I have the crew. With me once again, comprised of the fine gentlemen joining me through the interwebs. We have my boy Damo. He is the host of the Raw Sex Podcast. You can catch the Raw Sex Podcast weekly. You can get that on Google and Apple Podcast, also on Podbean, Stitcher as well. And we are there giving you everything in the world of love, relationships, sex, anything you want to talk about when it comes, and things are moving out well. Matter of fact, Damo, what we just put out just recently for Raw Sex?
I didn't put out nothing this week. I took a week off of putting something out, but I think this week I'm gonna put out the fumble episode.
Fumbles, of course, man. That should be entertaining to say the least. That one
been in the vault for too long, so we go ahead and get that one up out of there.
Indeed, sure that. So make sure you check out the Raw Sex Podcast with my boy Damo, and of course we have my boy Jo here, who gives us a perspective on hip hop. Man, appreciate having both of y'all gentlemen here. We appreciate everybody for checking in. Of course, we're still here somewhat on lockdown, and the cases in the U.S. are starting to go back up. So some of y'all been in the house too long and forgot how to act. So I'm going to say it once again. Stay your ass in the house, please, so that we can get this thing dealt with in an efficient manner, because y'all are messing things up. I see in your area, Damo, things starting to go back up, and especially in Florida and Texas, man. But
man, it's over with, man. They outside. It is what it is. Let the best immune system win.
We on some Hunger Games type stuff now, man. It's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Shit crazy, man.
Real.
But
Powers to be set it all up too.
Exactly. Right. So, of course, we always like to take you back in time and review the classics. Our motto here at the Vault Classic Music Reviews is hashtag open the vault, hashtag MBTC, or nothing but the classics. And we have another album we're going to represent today that just turned 20 years old. And it's a bit of an unconventional album for those of you who listen to this program and listen to our podcast. But we're going to go over to the Midwest to get for our next album. I'm talking about none other than Country Grammar by Nelly. Out of the Lou, St. Louis, the gateway to the West, home of the Archers, the Cardinals, and used to be the Rams. But Country Grammar by Nelly, his debut studio album on Universal Records, was released just not too long ago, 20 years ago, June 27th, 2000. Recorded between 1999 and 2000. Runtime of 66 minutes and 35 seconds on Universal Records. Executive producers C. Love and Kevin Law, executives for Universal. Production on this album handled by Jason J.E. Epperson, and also by St. Lunatic City Spud, who had his imprint all over this album, not just in beats, but also as a member of the St. Lunatics on a few records on here. And then Steve Blast Willis also contributed beats, and then Basement Beats, who did a collaborative effort to produce for this album, Country Grammar, which was released in the summer of 2000. Just some background on the album to let you know some of the reception that it's had. This is one of the few albums, guys, that has gone diamond. There's not many albums in hip-hop history that aren't double albums that go diamond. This is one of them. I mean, when you do a double album, you get, of course, 2 for every CD that you sell. So that's going to help boost up your numbers. But there's not many albums out there that weren't double albums that went diamond. This is another one of them. We did a review for Marshall Mathers LP. That is another diamond album. And this one was released right in the midst of summer in the year of 2000. 20 years old, and Nelly started off his career here with this, and this was the first album that pretty much started his career and launched him into superstardom in the music industry, and really, to me, put St. Louis on the map as having a hip-hop game, because there really wasn't a hip-hop game in St. Louis. There were rappers that were from St. Louis that did things, namely Domino. He was from St. Louis, which a lot of people didn't know. Domino with the Ghetto Jam. and Physical Fun and Sweet Potato Pie, but he was repping as though he was from the West Coast, based out in Long Beach to start his recording career. But Nelly was really the first one out of St. Louis to really give them an identity when it came to hip-hop. A lot of things to talk about when it comes to Country Grammar here, 20 years now old, released June 27, 2000. And it's crazy just even saying those words, because I remember when this album just first came out, because it came at a time when I had just graduated, as we talk about not too long ago, from high school. And I remember heading into this summer, there's a lot of things that were wrapping up. But like, we'll go into just basically about where you were when this album came out, listening to it back then and what you thought, and then what you think now leading up to the review of this album. I'll go ahead and start with Damo, since I was around with you at this time. So we were together when this album came out. And just want to get your thoughts on what you first thought about it when it came out, and then listening to it now and over the years, how your opinion on it may have, if it has changed at all.
Well, y'all bum asses left me at Bowie, but you know, it's summertime by the time this come out. So I knew I was going to senior year and y'all was leaving me up there, Joe. But it's cool. I digress. But you know what? I'm gonna be honest, it's the first time I listened to the album. I knew he had a couple of little smoking singles, but I wasn't like, oh, let me go grab that Country Grammar. Of course, you know, you got to think about the circle that we was with. That nobody was like, yo, go grab that Country Grammar. He's spitting on it. Nah.
Yeah.
So I didn't go get it at all. Like this week when you said Country Grammar, I said, oh, I'm thinking some songs that's gonna be on there. I'm like, hold on, none of them songs on there that I thought that was on there. And then I said, yeah, I did the right thing by not going to get it. But that's me.
Right.
But yeah, it was my first time listening to it. This this week, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay, and that's it.
And that's it. And that's all.
We'll get back to it later on. We got in other segments to get to it.
Yeah, indeed.
We ain't gonna empty the gun right now in the first segment.
You ain't gonna empty the clip right now in the first segment, no doubt. All right, cool. Jay, your take about where you were when you maybe first listened, maybe not even to the whole album, but just the tracks that you heard from it, and then how listening to it this week, if anything, your opinion changed and how time has changed for you, maybe looking at some of the things you heard from it.
Okay, so let me see, 2000. So this was actually right before I came to Morgan, because like, you know, for my freshman year of college, I was at Lincoln University. So this is like that summer of 2000, and to kind of piggyback off of what Dom said a minute ago, like when the joint Country Grammar first came out, I'm thinking in my head like, what the hell is this? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
This like this whole sing-songy type thing, you know, like that, and like I know both y'all remember the video. It was like all these blammers like dancing in the street, like, you know, like. It was like Hood Rat Central in the background. Sorry that anybody was in the video now, but whatever it is, what it is. But yeah, like, so, I mean, it was just something like so different, but at the same time, you know, it didn't necessarily motivate me to go out and buy the album. So honestly, like this past week was the first time I listened to it as well. Mm-hmm. And, you know, of course back then, like, you know, Nelly was a big deal. Like, probably was like in the 2000s, like, you know, it was probably like the highest selling artist. The second highest selling artist after Eminem, I would say, like for the 2000s.
Yeah, for the year.
Yeah, Jay-Z said it was only him, Pimp Juice, and us is the only my moving units.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But like back then, like I said, I wasn't motivated to get it. I heard the joints like that was coming on BET and on the radio and all like that. So you can go back and listen to this now and just thinking how it would have been like back then. Like, yeah, I'm kind of glad I didn't like spend my dough to get this. Like, you know, I made the right thing. I already knew I made
$20.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Plus it was expensive back then. Like, so, you know, I ain't waste my $20 back then. Especially going into Morgan, there was so many things I could have spent $20 a little more rewarding on. You know, in the party circuit, if you know. I ain't gonna get too deep into it, but
like a dub sack.
Exactly. I was
a nice one.
Yeah. And
a nice one.
Children.
Yeah. Hey, look, and the dub sack get you a solid 4 J's. For real. And that's just speaking. Hey, look, I ain't encouraging nobody to do something that's illegal. I'm just saying it could get you a solid 4 J's back then. But nah, I feel you.
Back then, yeah.
Back then. So here's my take, and this is where I may differ a little bit. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I did a review for 3 6 Mafia When the Smoke Clears. And what I said to the audience back then, and I'll reiterate it now, is that certain types of hip hop and music in general has purposes. And to me, the purpose of that album was not like much of the hip hop, as you said, Damo, the circles that we ran in, where you expected to get educated, uplifted, informed, really some fire bars. And you weren't getting that in that album, like I said a couple of weeks ago. It's almost like the same thing that you can say here for Country Grammar. Now, just to sort of go back to where I was, same thing. I was getting ready to head to Morgan. I had graduated from high school, and I didn't listen to this album until maybe a few years ago, front to back. And it took me some time because, I'll be quite honest, I wasn't a Nelly fan, especially back then. Like, I thought Nelly was a Bama. I thought he was a Bama, and the rest of all them Bamas out there in St. Louis, they were some Bama-ass niggas. That's what I thought they were. I thought they were some Bama-ass
Still
niggas.
think he a Bama. Still think he a Bama.
You still think he a Bama?
Still think he a Bama.
Yeah.
When I watched him on Versus just the other week, it reminded me of his Bama-fiedness.
I will say this. I don't think he's
still a Bama.
I don't think he's so much of a Bama. I just think, he is still a Bama, but the thing is that he got money now.
He's still a Bama.
He's still a Bama, but he got money, and I have to give him his props. He made the most out of his career thus far. I don't think any of us would have ever thought when we first saw and heard Country Grammar that he would have been to the point where he is right now. As you said, what Jay said in that song, Excuse Me, Miss, only one moving units is M, Pimp, Juice, and us. They were the only ones pulling in big money like that. So, but listening to a lot of those records, I hated it. I hated a lot of the stuff because I was such in my backpack mode. I was such in my East Coast lyrical mode. So I did not want to hear this niggas supposedly sing-songing on rap and doing things. But the one thing I couldn't deny, even back then, is that shit bumped in the club. And chicks
bumping the club.
And chicks loved it. So if there's one thing we talk about redeeming qualities that music has, that was definitely one of them. Things sort of come up, and even to go back to your point, Damo, with the whole thing about the songs. Some of the songs you're probably thinking about you thought were on Country Grammar were actually probably on Nellyville. And that was the album after this one, which had some popular singles, but this one had quite a bit of singles too. Other than Country Grammar, there were, of course, E.I., there was Ride With Me, there was Batter Up, all those sorts of all singles. Throughout the years, you sort of saw Nelly transition, and as the 2000s started to go on and into the 2010s, you didn't really hear a whole lot from Nelly no more. But from like that time period from 2000 to like 03, 04, he did a lot. And he was, like I said, moving big units, making big money, having lots of success. And he really, to me, helped solidify St. Louis. Because wasn't nobody really coming out of St. Louis before that. But after he dropped, look who came out of St. Louis, though, as a result of him opening up the door. Not just the St. Lunatics, but
Huey.
Yeah, by Huey, the late Huey, by the way.
Huey.
Yeah.
Huey.
Yeah, the late Huey, Jaquan, Chingy. All people that had big hits. All people that became a part of the industry as a result of this. As a matter of fact, Chingy and Nelly was homeboys for a little bit before they started beefing with each other. So so he really did help to define, just reading some of the things this week, define St. Louis rap, because there wasn't nobody really doing anything out of St. Louis. Now, as far as me listening here, right, to this past week, my whole thing, now, again, I wasn't really a big Nelly fan per se. I wasn't. But I will have to say this, and this is going to be a bit of a unpopular opinion, considering some of our listenership. I listened to this past week and also started looking into the lyrics. What I'm about to say might be a little unpopular, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. With some of the take away some of the stuff with the cadence and some of the things as well with, some of the sing-songy stuff, which, by the way, Nelly wasn't the first one to do stuff like that. It was Bone had did things like that before, and it was just a little bit different because a little bit more of a different accent and a twang with that St. Louis twang out in the Midwest. A little bit different than what Bone did. Really listen to that. And when I listened to it this week, because I really wanted to dig into it to review it, dog, Nelly can rap, like for real. And when I talk about can rap, let me break it down into 3 different type of structures for y'all. It's like for everybody out there listening to y'all two, Jay and Damo. So to me, there's like, as far as when it comes to being a good artist, especially with a rapper, there's like three things. There's being lyrical, there's having bars, and then there's people that can rap. Now, you could be lyrical, but then not be able to rap. Now, we've all heard rappers out there that are lyrical, but they can't rap. We all done heard that. I mean, you can listen to a lot of raucous stuff and hear a lot of people that,
miracle.
yeah, you can hear a lot of people, especially in namely some raucous stuff that are lyrical as hell, but they can't really rap like that. You can also rap but not have any bars or be lyrical. I do think that you should at least be able to rap whether you're lyrical or not. And not saying that Nelly is a elite MC, because he's not, but he can rap though. And the delivery, I think, is what sets a lot of people. Nelly, I think the delivery is what I think sets a lot of people off. And that's a big part of it. But now listening to it this past week, I think the one thing that I have to pull away from is that, man, he can rap. He can. And I think that may be unpopular with some people, but yo, it worked because it appealed to people. And I think that was the big thing coming from a place like St. Louis that didn't have a scene, that it had to appeal to people because there wasn't nobody checking for no one from St. Louis. And the appeal part of it, that's where I think it kind of worked. Now, again, people can argue with me about whether they think Nelly can rap or not. Hey, look, I'm not saying he's a lyrical genius, but I think the dude can rap, man. And I think it worked for what it was he was trying to do. This is not a lyrical masterpiece by far, but I think the dude can rap. And I think it worked because obviously it kicked the door open for him and also for St. Louis. That's what I think. And so that's where I was. So listening to it this week, like I said, changing my ears and preparing my ears to hear something different where I wasn't expecting to get the typical thing I was expecting to get all the time. Listening to it now, it's like, all right, I mean, I'm not going to play this regularly. This is not going to be a must-play album for me, but it still has a little bit of replay value because like you said, Damo, this stuff like this still bumps in the club. Stuff like this, you still get reactions from people when they play it, So when we talk about classic music, right, like what's some of the things that it does, the reactions that you get from people when they play stuff like this.
It's basically the 4 songs on here that still bump in the club. And ain't nothing else on this album that's going in the club that I'm like, oh, they be just like how they are on verses. He made that song?
Right.
Or why you play that?
Right.
It's those four songs. EI, Country Grammar, Batter Up. That's really it.
Indeed. No, I hear you. I mean, the album songs are not going to get played. You don't really hear album songs in the club at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't hear album songs in the club at all. Nobody gets album songs played in the club, but those singles worked. So we're going to move into highlights and lowlights as far as what you liked, what you didn't like, and a few other things in there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Jay, just your highlights, lowlights, and anything else in between that you want to mention and listening to it this past week.
Guess like what Dom said, I mean, like, the highlights to be obviously the ones, obviously the 4 biggest singles on the album, like Country Grammar, Ride With Me, EI, and Batter Up. Aside from that, I'd probably say Other Side, like, just because the way it was structured and kind of like cautionary tales as far as like some people like, like speaking to like the youth as far as like, staying on the right path and if they are on the wrong path, getting themselves together, like, that I would say is a highlight of it. I mean, aside from everything else, I mean, of course, like I would take so much of the sing-songiness, throughout listening to all this, to be real with y'all. Mm-hmm. Another thing I would say, like looking back on it there, Brian, like with not so much Nelly, but like the Saint Lunatics as a whole, as far as like their quote unquote heyday.
Yeah, I
really feel like Murphy Lee should have got more of a push.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like because I would say he was the more lyrical one out of that crew, in my opinion. Like
yeah.
Like, I mean, just like on his features and all like that. So I think Murphy Lee, like, should have got more of a push as an artist and like, as opposed like, because I mean, I feel like they more so mark him like as like a teen heartthrob type person where he actually has something to bring to the table. Mm-hmm. And then I thought about it like with the song.
I mean, he's the only one who probably got features.
Right.
Yeah, he's the only one that got features besides Nelly, by other people. Other people, you see him on other people's albums. He the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Welcome to Atlanta remix. I mean, he was on that joint. Like his verse was nice. So I just think like they could have built more momentum off of that and like really pushed him like not so much like out there more so than Nelly, but he could have been up there. You know what I mean? As far as like what he had to offer, and it just made me think about like just the appeal of Nelly and everything like that. Like with the song "Ride With Me." I mean, that's like I don't know if the term would be like the Nickelback category, but like just like one of those ones that mainstream America loves and feels safe singing to, and like drunk white frat boys, hey, must be the money. Like, you know what I mean? Like I mean, yes.
Zetsu.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, play around like mainstream white people, they don't feel threatened and everything. And even Country Grammar, which is kind of proof in itself, people don't listen to lyrics because that hook was definitely like not, you know what I'm saying, not a safe journey. Like when you really listen to it, going down, down, baby, your street in the Range Rover street
sweeper, baby.
Proof,
Yeah,
that people don't know what a street sweeper is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you know what a street sweeper was, you run. So
yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
As far as low lights, I mean, probably the Loving Me joint.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really can't say anything beyond that because, like you said, this whole album really wasn't my cup of tea. You know what I mean? So, like,
right.
That's probably to the extent which I could break it down. But I mean, did good. I mean, he marketed himself like the way he should have, and I mean, that was the other thing going back to I think your point, Brian, like saying he could rap, but like they knew how to market him, so like, you know, like core audiences and making radio bangers and joints that are playing the club, and like I said, stuff that like white grandmothers and drunken white frat boys and stuff like that could sing to and have a good time and feel all safe and all like that. So I mean, it was marketed well in that sense. So
yeah. What about the production? What did you think about the production on here by Jay? Jay and City Spud.
Yeah, I say the production was solid. I mean, like, you know, like I may not have cared much for like the sing-songiness, but like that production sounds so crisp and clean and different from what was out there. I mean, so like with Nelly and St. Louis being like that gateway to St. Louis, like I mean, I think that could have been a gateway to like that era in production where it had a regional sound. So if that would have been marketed as like the regional sound for St. Louis, I think it could have gone a lot further. Not to say they didn't go far, but like that could have opened the door for other producers out of St. Louis too.
Indeed, yeah. Damo, your take? Since I know you said you wasn't going to empty the clip during the intro, so feel free to empty your clip a little bit more, my man.
What up? The highs are the singles, the lows, the whole damn album. God damn, that album was a struggle to get through. I was like, and look, and this is the crazy thing. I'm expecting, I said, all right, I see Lil Wayne on the joint. I said, all right, at least Lil Wayne. But this must have been pre-Gilly the Kid Lil Wayne, because he ain't say shit either. I was like, hold on. Did I miss it? Hey, look, I went through that. I said, hold on. Did I hear Lil Wayne on here? Because I thought that's where I was going to get my verse from. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get my verse from Lil Wayne on this. That's a verse I'm going to use. I said, hold on. That song went by like 3 songs ago. Hold on, let me go back. Oh, this must be pre-Gilly the Kid, Lil Wayne. Great States. So the lowest song on that joint to me was Never Let 'Em See You Sweat. I was like, what the hell is this? Throw this whole song away. I said, man.
That one too.
4 singles was how he went diamond. And it was hot singles. There was 5 singles.
Yeah.
It crossed over to the white folks. He went diamond. That's how he went. And like you said a little while, he can rap.
Yeah.
He ain't saying nothing. But he can rap.
Yeah.
Like, he good on it. He ain't Blueface. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
But this album, I don't even know how it would. And look, this is the other thing I gotta say. My ears are different now. So I'm not going in there listening to those backpack ears that I had back then. Back then, oh, heck, I don't even know. Like we said, you didn't listen to 666 back then. We didn't.
Yeah.
I might look at 666. I look at them a whole lot different when I was being in the Navy from being with my guys from down south. I started loving their music or whatever.
Yeah.
We talked about that on one episode.
Yeah.
But we might have talked about it on the Raw 6 episode or something like that in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I'm listening to this and I was like, this ain't, because now everybody sing songy. So you already ready for the sing songy. And back then, I'm ready for it now. I'm like, okay, this nigga, bruh, set me up. I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to give him a lyrical breakdown like this, y'all. Oh, my goodness.
Hey.
I listened to it twice. The first time was real difficult to get through, besides the singles.
Yeah.
You know, the singles come on, you get that nostalgia of being in the club, and young and shit, y'all partying. Yeah. Other than that, I'm like, dang, save me.
This man, you emptied the clip on this joint.
Yeah,
bro.
he emptied the clip.
That was like Eileen's cousin in the Minister Society emptied the clip. Like,
exactly.
So now partner, like, damn.
Yeah, he ain't even. That's not even a 9mm clip. He put an AK-47 clip and emptied that jam.
Us in the back speaking text or something.
Exactly.
Damn.
Right. Golly. Well, damn, Damo. All right, cool. Well, you know what? I can respect that. because you're not giving us no bullshit as though this joint was great. I'm glad that thank you for being honest. I appreciate that.
No fanboys here.
Yeah, exactly. Nah, man. But I mean, I can understand that. But as far as my highlights, I didn't have as many lowlights. I think to me, I think these are the big things with lowlights for me. I actually wasn't really a big fan of Other Side, and I definitely wasn't a fan of Loving Me at all. The singles to me, I think, were great. I think I liked some of the stuff with Saint Lunatics. I actually liked Never Let Them See You Sweat a little bit. Like, I think the guest spots on here are okay. I think when we got with Wayne on here on 4 Mile, which is track number 10, that was early Wayne. That was, like you said, pre-Gilly the Kid Wayne, pre-Carter, the pre-Carter, pre-Carter series Wayne, because once we got into the Carter series Wayne, you really started seeing Wayne develop. And by the time you got to the Carter 3, I mean, Wayne was elite at that point. You know what I'm saying? He needed some time to develop. I mean, people forget, like, Wayne, when he first came out with the Hot Boys, he was only 16 years old. He was still developing. He was still trying to discover his flow at that point in time. It's crazy because Nelly sounded a little bit more polished on that song than Wayne did. Wayne was sort of trying to struggle in to get through that joint, which is a little painful understanding what you got from Wayne later. But the singles, yeah, great. Country Grammar, I mean, yeah, man, it is what it is. Ride With Me is that song, like you said, Jay. That's that pop song that, that drunk white boys and people in summer pool parties and festivals love to hear that song. It's a safe song. The one thing I remember with that's the song that played at the end of Scary Movie 2. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a safe song. It's a pop song. Out of the singles, though, to tell you the truth, out of all of them, the one that I actually might like the best might be Batter Up. Because you had verses on there from City Spud and also from Murphy Lee and Ali. You know what I'm saying? That's the one thing I think that might be actually my favorite one out of all of them. And the videos were crazy. Like during the Country Grammar, these bands were wearing those St. Louis Rams jerseys backwards, those St. Louis Cardinals jerseys backwards. You had all that stuff sort of going on. I think to me, I sort of look at it in a little bit of a different light as far as what they did for the region. And the style, really what they did. To me, the production on here by J.E. and by City Spud as well, who was on Ride With Me on a couple of the tracks on here, they did the beats to me, like you said, Jason, was really like creating like a sound for St. Louis. Because the one thing that I like about the Midwest cities is they take from a little bit of everything, right? They'll take from your West Coast, from your East Coast, from your down South, down to Texas. And they sort of take everything that they like and they sort of make it their own. Like you hear a lot of influences in a lot of the beats here by J.E. and by City Spud of stuff that you would hear from New Orleans. You heard stuff that, with stuff that Manny Fresh did. You hear some stuff that Beats by the Pound did for No Limit. You hear some things that were done by some Houston producers, stuff that you heard with Screw Music and with Ghetto Boys and with UGK. You hear some West Coast influences in there as well. So that's what I really liked about the album was the production. Aside whether the lyrics or whatever. Lyrics are going to be whatever they be. And the flow and the cadence and everything going to be what they be. J.E. and City Spud and also Steve Blast Willis, who did Batter Up, by the way, I think did a great job of being able to craft that St. Louis sound. That's to me where I think the album sort of stands out because that had the formula that some of the other St. Louises that came out, like Jibbs, like Jaquan, like Chingy, like Huey, they all kind of follow the same type of formula. And it's a shame, like you said, Jay, that they didn't, more producers from St. Louis didn't really get on in the industry where, that sound sort of traveled a little bit outside of St. Louis. Like the same way that Beats by the Pounds and Manny Fresh did in New Orleans, So, and it's a shame, though. But it's, to me, the album is what it is. It's the commercialism of it with the singles are it. The rest of the other songs, other than my lowlights, they're just okay. That's just the way I have to sort of put it out. They're just okay. That's where I'm at. They're okay. And it's not like I said, it wasn't I don't think it was more so of a struggle for me to get through because I think, like I said, when you listen to it, it was like my ears are different and I was sort of going into it with the same mentality I was listening to 3-6, but I wasn't as touched as much as I was listening to it like I was listening to 3-6. There we are. Now,
you know what? I went in listening to it. It went diamond. I'm gonna say my ears went into it, listened to it like it was gonna be a classic album. That's how my ears went into it. I'm like, this joint went diamond. Country Grammar don't. I was like, this joint went diamond. I looked at this joint. Oh yeah, this joint gotta be a classic.
Nah.
Wah wah.
Yeah, and I mean,
38 minutes later.
Well, you know, the thing is that
like, you're right. No, I was gonna say it's not like, you know, like back to your point, Brian, about other Diamond albums like that weren't necessarily double albums, like say the Marshall Mathers LP. You pretty much like crank that joint through and through, or like I'll even goes back as far as like the Fugees to score that joint went diamond. It might have gone double diamond. Now I think about it, I might be mistaken, but like those are joints you could like flow through and through. You know what I'm saying? That without really having to skip any tracks. This one, you skipped around quite a bit, honestly. You know what I'm saying? If you weren't like some hardcore Nelly fan, straight out of St. Louis, he was like your man's from down the street or something like that. So it's like, I mean, it just, I guess it just shows like, you know, how much weight those singles held. You know what I'm saying? Like to boost the sales of the album. But like Dom said, but this wasn't it for me.
True. So we're not even going to go into notable quotables then. I'm gonna let y'all off the hook on that. So that's what it is. That's what it is. That's what it is. I understand it. Message.
I was gonna give you EI, you know, but you know that's just because he said the Parasucos on there.
Yeah,
and that was it. That's the only reason why I like that one. You know them girls back in high school rock Parasucos.
Yeah, Parasucos used to have them Jones looking fat. Yeah, even if they wasn't even that fat, they be fat with the Parasucos. Yeah. Nah, indeed, I understand
that's
that.
Makeup now.
Yeah, right.
That's the only one I said. Other than that, couldn't find one.
You know, I actually think the first verse of Country Grammar ain't that bad, though, to tell you the truth, man. I mean, the actual lyrics themselves, yeah, I don't think it's that bad, you know? But, I mean, like I said, we're not going to get into notable quotables. So, before we get into, like, the very last segment, knowing that what you've heard from Nelly, let me ask you this. Listening to this, do you think his next album was better than this? You think Nellyville was better than this one?
Did I listen to Nellyville? I think I did listen to Nellyville.
Yeah, and Nellyville...
I'm gonna say yeah.
So, Nellyville was...
Yeah, I'm going to say yeah. I think I did listen to Nellyville.
So Nellyville came out in 2002. Nellyville is the album, of course, that had this, just like this. This had a lot of singles. This did not go, Nellyville did not go diamond. It only sold 6 million records. But Nellyville had Hot in Here. It had Pimp Juice. It had Air Force Ones. It had Dilemma. It had Number One. So it had Them Boys. It had a few different songs on there. So you think Nellyville was better than this one then, Damo?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and then not only that, but Nellyville had a couple other producers. They had Neptunes and Just Blaze as well, producing on that one for him as well. At that point, he had become a star, so people were willing to produce for him, you know. So, and Track Boys, by the way, which produced Air Force Ones, of course.
Who rocked the Band-Aid under the eye?
Oh, I didn't. Now, come on, man. I didn't do no Bama shit like that, man. Come on. I know some Bamas who did that, though. Hey, Jay, I know that you saw a couple. I know that we saw a couple of Bamas up there at Morgan who was rocking the Band-Aid under their eye. They were some Bama ass niggas, dog. They were some Bamas.
That's up there with like but I don't know if you remember like Fabulous with them paper towel bandanas.
Exactly.
Nah, that joint had me on a vibe like up there. Like I was waiting for somebody to jump out there with that bullshit, like so I could say something.
Yeah.
Or just have a water gun ready so I could just like wet that
shit up. Exactly. Let it tail over their head and shit. Exactly. All right, fellas. So I'm gonna go ahead. I guess it's safe to say y'all think this is not a classic then.
I'm gonna say it's not.
They need to burn that joint with Drew Brees' jersey. This ain't it.
Oh man. So let me put it this way, right? As far as content, this is not a classic album. I think where this is rated as a classic is because of its impact. So I think it's impactful. I think it's impactful due to what it did for St. Louis and what it did for the region. That's what I think the true impact and the appreciation for this could be, is what it did. Because it did open up a new sound for a brand new area that nobody was checking for. That's the one thing I think I have to really point to.
Years.
Yeah, for a few years. And
for a couple of years.
Yeah.
For a couple of years.
Yeah, for a few years.
I'm going to say it like Meek Mill said this week. Numbers lie. Numbers lie. This album ain't it.
Damn, Tomo.
I mean, plus, this proves, like, 70% of people that buy hip hop are white. Or this time were, so.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you can see that, man. I definitely see that. Like I said, I think it's culturally impactful. I don't think it's a classic. And I do think there are some songs, though, that we're going to hear for years, though. I mean, I think we're still going to hear stuff like Country Grammar and EI and Batter Up and especially Ride With Me. I think we're going to hear those for some years. I do think that some replay it has some replay value. Yeah, they're classic singles, and I said that in my last Cards, Dominoes, Drinks, and Smoke segment, where there are albums that have classic songs but aren't classics, and this is one of them. This is probably one of the first albums we've done on here that has classic songs, but it's not a classic at all. So I think we're all in agreement there. So there we are, y'all. Y'all have it. Country Grammar by Nelly, 20 years old now. You know, has some replay value, gives you some memories as far as when you listen to some of the singles, but, you know, it's not a classic. It isn't, but it's fun. It's fun to listen to some of the singles, and definitely is something that you can use to party to, have at a, you know, backyard barbecue or something like that, or having your whip when you're listening to a mix. But other than that, it's not a whole lot of other stuff, but it is, I think, culturally impactful when it comes to the hip-hop culture in St. Louis and the Midwest. So there we are. So Country Grammar by Nelly, you can go out and listen to it anywhere where you can pick albums up, anywhere where you can get digital distribution. Go out and listen to it, maybe reminisce a little bit, and see what you think.
Stream it, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Stream it, don't buy it.
Yeah. Well, that's what everybody does now, right? We stream music. We don't buy it, you know?
There's some albums I buy. Some albums I buy.
Yeah.
This wouldn't be one of them.
Yeah, true. I mean, some drinks are still worth the money, but
Yeah.
spend my money on that was not this.
Indeed. And that is going to wrap up yet another edition of The Vault. Please make sure you check us out on our host on Podbean, vaultcmr.podbean.com. You can also download, stream, and subscribe to The Vault Classic Music Reviews on any one of our streaming sites. You go to any one of our social media sites, and you can get to our bio, get to our link tree that has all of our streaming sources and all of our social media channels. Again, you can get to us on The Vault Classic Music Reviews on Vault CMR Podcast on Instagram, at Vault Classic on Twitter, and you can search on Facebook and YouTube, The Vault Classic Music Reviews, and you can get to us there as well. Also, make sure that y'all checking out Raw Sex Podcast every single week. We're back with a new episode coming up this new week, so make sure y'all check that out and y'all subscribing and listening to the Raw Sex Podcast with me and Damo, of course, every single week, giving you the raw and giving you the real when it comes to relationships, love, sex, and everything in between. Always remember to keep your headphones on and your music loud, but not too loud. And as we close, we like to remind everyone to dream big, because dreams are the basis for creation. Always create, motivate, and elevate, because you were never destined or created to stay stationary in this life. And on that note, we say peace.
Thank you for listening and coming into The Vault. Please subscribe and follow us on Facebook at IV Creative and Instagram at IVECRE8.